Welcome to this bonus edition of the World of Concacaf podcast. I am Eric Schmitz.
I'm Jonathan Sleep.
And I'm Donald Wine.
And we are going to take a moment to talk about what we saw at the conclusion of the most important sports event on the planet, the Concacaf Nations League finals, which took place recently.
Wait, Eric, before you go, I need you to start that over because I need you to put more respect and more enthusiasm on what we witnessed. This is the Nations League and we have the champions. I need you to bring it to the people. Give it to them.
All right, let me try this.
So take your Euros.
Holy shit, did you guys see that Concacaf Nations League
There we
finals?
go. That's what I'm talking about.
Because I was going to say, take your Euros, take your Copa America, and shove it. Concacaf Nations League is the most important tournament in world football.
I'm not even
We were telling y'all.
Like, most important, we've been saying that. We've been telling you. We've tried
most
to
electric.
You're not doing better. Like, you cannot do better. That was the greatest conclusion to the greatest, I'm talking like the greatest competition as in the stature. That was the greatest as in, holy shit, that was amazing conclusion to the...
Can we talk real quick about the fact that, we have been hyping this tournament for years. Like, when it was first announced, we were all over this.
Oh,
and people
of
were
course.
like, man, they were clowning us. They're like, man, y'all are losers. Like, come on now. And now everybody's like, Nations League, what a great tournament that was. And we're like, we done told you this. We done told you this for 2 years.
Yeah, we got to the final. Like, I was trying to explain to someone. So, like, the day after the last Monday, I'm trying to explain to someone, like, what'd you do last night? And I'm like, man, I don't even know how to put into words. And we'll first start with the semifinals. But, like, I don't know how to put into words what I just experienced. And I wasn't even there like you two. You guys were there in the stadium. I was just in a bar. And like, I couldn't even put into words. Like, I feel like Luis in all the Marvel movies when he starts doing his like real like recapping things like real quick. Like, I mean, it would have taken him 3.5 minutes to get through the first half of the US-Mexico game. And that's not even figuring in the rest of CONCACAF Nations League finals.
Yeah, this effectively is our victory lap in that we were right. We were right about this competition, and you guys wouldn't listen to us, and we're here to talk about that. So, basically, we got to this point through, the conclusion, it almost lives up to the long, arduous task of getting to the finals. As you may know, Concacaf Nations League started back in 2019. This competition went over it was supposed to be the 2019-2020 Nations League. And as you may be aware, there was a global pandemic last year. So the scheduled finals for the 2019-2020 Nations League were originally scheduled for June of 2020. They were rescheduled for June of 2021 and moved to beautiful Denver, Colorado. Donald, how did you like Denver?
Oh, I love Denver. Denver's a great town. There's a lot to eat. There's a lot to drink. A hell of a lot to drink.
There was a lot.
But I really, and it was a great atmosphere. I mean, just talking about the stadium, we can talk about everything else later. But just talking about the stadium, there was a great atmosphere specifically for the Mexico game, the final. It was, the stadium was not full capacity. It was about 42%, so about 31 or 32,000 or something like that. But it was electric, and everyone was on it. They were, USA fans were cheering, Mexico fans were cheering, Costa Rica fans and Honduran fans were cheering for somebody. But it was in a great time in Denver. The city was great. We had great hospitality.
The weather was fantastic.
The weather was fantastic. A little hot, but I mean, I'm from DC and you guys are from Nashville, so we didn't really notice. But when it came to the actual atmosphere of the game, that's exactly what we came to Denver to see.
Yeah. I mean, the pool conditions were fantastic. The weather was great, a lot of sunshine. I definitely got some sun. Had a lot of great beers. Shout out to Ratio Beer Works in Denver. I ended up going back there. What's that?
I said sponsor us.
Yeah, sponsor us. Really cool spot in their River North area, along with some other breweries that we hit. Odell's was good. Odell had like this really great playlist going, like all 90s like R&B and hip hop. Great vibes. But Ratio, I ended up going back there twice. All their beers are named after like punk rock songs and albums, so it was extremely my vibe there. But Denver's really cool. I hadn't had a chance to spend a lot of time there previously. I'd been there once before for about 12 hours, so certainly not enough to experience downtown, but everything was walkable. Great public transit. Huge ups to Denver for having solid public transit. But a lot of good food, a lot of good beer, and a lot of good vibes. My favorite part about getting to Denver was seeing the street signs, like on like the light poles. They had Concacaf Nations League finals banners, and I'm like, this town recognizes how important this competition is. And it almost felt like home, it's like I'm finally in a place where this competition is getting the respect it deserves.
So, Eric, question for you.
Yeah.
When are you getting the CONCACAF Nations League trophy tattooed on your body?
Listen, my body is a temple. Like I'm not a tattoo guy, but I am in the market for a replica, like I'm talking
same.
like 2.5 times scale. I would like it like an 8-foot tall replica to put in my living quarters of the Nations League trophy. But like even checking into the hotel, we happen to be staying at the same hotel that CONCACAF apparently was staying at. So you saw like the stand-up signs for a CONCACAF Nations League finals. It's like you felt like, yes, this tournament, which means everything to me, finally means everything to everyone else that's here.
I went to the gym and in the hotel one morning and, was doing a nice little workout, was getting it in. And all of a sudden, like 4 or 5 of the referees walked in to start their workout. And I immediately left because they were all like doing warm-ups on the treadmill that would have been faster than my actual speed. And I'm a fast dude, but they were doing it for miles. They weren't doing it for meters. So I definitely saw them and was like, yeah, this is the end of my gym session, and then got the hell up out of there.
This isn't the first time that you've been running or had a run-in with the referees from a CONCACAF fixture. Because if you remember the game in Chattanooga, the U.S.-Jamaica game, we walked into the Buffalo Wild Wings, and who happened to be sitting there but the referees from the game we were just in attendance of.
And they love them some wings.
Who doesn't love them some B-dubs? But on to the soccer. Let's first hit the semifinals. First semifinal on Thursday, June 3rd, was USA versus Honduras. USA gets the 1-0 victory on a late goal by Jordan Sibachu. Pefok? Is it Pefok or Pefik? Like I've heard different
Pefok
pronunciation.
Is Pefok, and I reached out to US Soccer to get clarification on which one we should address them by, because they go by Sibachu, and on Jordan's Twitter account it says call me Pefok. So I'd like to call him what he wants or what he prefers. So we will check back when we get that information from US Soccer.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be interested. I know, like at his club teams, he'd gone by Sibachu, but now that he's decided to play for the United States, his mother's maiden name is Pefok.
Correct.
And so that's what I understand why he's chosen to go by that. But yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see.
And he uses that for a club now too. So
sweet.
I think it's across the board change, which is what prompted me to kind of ask, because despite all of that, US Soccer is still using Sibachu, and that's fine if that's what he prefers, but I'd rather go by what he prefers.
Yeah,
we will call him whatever he wants to be called. If he's going
champion,
to score,
we'll call him champion.
Daddy.
89th minute winners in the CONCACAF Nations League semifinals. Guys, quick thoughts on that semifinal game?
I mean, I think probably my biggest takeaway is that game was a slog. I will say that going into that game, I listened to this guy who said, U.S. over 3.5 goals. What was the bet? I think his name was Eric Schmitz.
Yes. Shut up.
Did not hit. No,
I was getting a free trip out of this.
Yeah, the game it was just a bit of a slog. I probably think my biggest takeaway was not a big fan of Jackson Ewell in the 6th position. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do to get through, and I think that was the whole purpose of the game, was get through the game, make it to the next round, and then at that point you can really make a run at it. So I mean that's probably my biggest takeaway from that game.
For me, the biggest takeaway was that the MVPs, there were multiple MVPs of this match. They were the stretcher girls who had the best heat map of everyone on the field, because every 15 seconds a Honduran player was on the ground and they had to run out with the stretcher to tend to them. So they were the most popular people on the field. Every time someone went down, there was chance for stretcher girls and they would go out. They were not present for the final, presumably because it was a school night, and also because probably they needed the rest after the 5 or 6 miles that they ran with the stretcher during this game.
They did a full 90 in the semifinal. So going back to back like that, it's too much to ask for people at that age.
Yeah, you got to rotate your people. So
yeah, you got to get that squad rotation in. I mean, for me, it was clear Honduras went into this game going for PKs. And I really did expect the U.S. to take this one fairly easily. The last time U.S. had played Honduras in a competition was World Cup qualifying, and that was a 6-0 win with a squad that was arguably weaker than the U.S. squad right now. So I assumed that goals were going to be coming, and they weren't. Like, Honduras had a game plan. They executed it great. Part of that game plan was killing as much time as possible. So they hit the ground and they stayed down for as long as there's a lot of shithousing in this game. And you couldn't ask anything more out of a CONCACAF competition, is the true shithousery that you got from Honduras in wasting as much time as possible, but yet falling just short at the end there, and giving up that late equalizer on a great play from the substitute for the U.S.
And it started right from the beginning. Like, it was very clear, and I think, Eric, you and I were kind of discussing this at halftime in the stands, but it was very clear about 25 seconds into this match that the referee was not going to have control of this game. And sure enough, he didn't. It was, every single time, there was one where a Honduran player, went to the ground on his own, got treatment. I say that in air quotes, treatment. The stretcher girls ran out. He popped up. It was fine. And not only did they give a yellow card, I want to say, to Kellen Acosta. I want to say it was Kellen Acosta. You can check me on that. But not only did they do that, but they let the guy stay in the game and said, hey, there was no foul, but you can still stay in the game. And he didn't have to go off and be waved back on, which was incredible. And then, of course, like 5 seconds later, he went back down again. And that's when they said, okay, now you have to actually walk off the field before you come back on this time.
Yeah. It doesn't look like Acosta ended up getting a yellow.
Brian Acosta is the one who got a yellow.
Brian Acosta. Okay, yes.
Not Kellen. So Brian Acosta of
yes. I'm sorry, for Honduras. Yeah.
Yeah. The one yellow I do want to make note of is the Tyler Adams yellow card that he received, because Honduras, obviously trying to kill time, was basically booted the ball away when they were supposed to play it. They had a free kick, and the ball was booted down the field. Tyler Adams, who was on the bench for the U.S., stepped onto the field to boot the ball back to them. And in receiving the ball, Honduras, clearly not wanting to get back into play, kicked it back to him. So Tyler Adams received the ball and kicked it back at the guy, and the guy had turned around and he hit him. So Adams was shown a yellow card on the bench.
I love a yellow card getting I love a player getting a yellow card that isn't even in the game.
Yeah.
So question. Does getting a yellow card during a game, does that cap tie you?
No. I don't know.
No,
I think you actually have to step on the field.
I was saying, like, could we get Yunus Musa to kick the ball at someone and pick up a yellow card?
I don't know. You might want to check with FIFA on that one. But so our first semifinal wraps up with the U.S. advancing as expected, but not as expected, with the 1-0 victory over Honduras. The other semifinal Mexico and Costa Rica, 0-0 final. Mexico advances on penalties. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you your thoughts first, but I just want to say I did stay for the first half of this game to see how it was, and I was so bored I left at halftime. Did you guys have any thoughts?
That sounds about right.
That sounds about right. I mean, I started to watch the game, turned it off. I think I flipped it on at another point, was not interested in what was happening, and then turned it back off again.
I mean, both teams, or sorry, I shouldn't say both teams. I should say all 4 teams did not play well in the semifinals. Like, not a single team played extremely well during the semifinals. I thought the United States, played bad. I thought Honduras played terribly. And Mexico and Costa Rica played a really boring brand of soccer that was not well received by anyone. But of course, after the game, Ochoa hits, in penalties, Ochoa makes one save, and all of a sudden it's Mexico played super well and held off a feisty Costa Rica. No, all these teams played terribly in the semifinal round, which, I guess they left it in the semifinal because I'm glad they did, because it made for an incredible final.
Yeah. Costa Rica blowing a great chance to advance on penalties after Mexico missed their first. Costa Rica was able to hold that advantage in PKs until their next penalty, where they missed to even it up. And then Alan Cruz stopped by Memo Ochoa in the 6th round to give Mexico the expected berth in the final unexpectedly. So before we get to the final, I do want to bring up that this Mexico-Costa Rica game was the first appearance of the protocol from Concacaf on the chants from the Mexican fans. Did you guys think that Concacaf did a good enough job enforcing this protocol?
No, I don't think that I don't think Concacaf ever will, because I think Concacaf needs a successful Mexico team. And what really needs to be done to stop anything of this, there needs to be, games need to be on the line, points need to be deducted, fans need to be left out of the game, and Concacaf will never do any of those instances because that is taking out of their pockets.
So for me, the answer is hell no, and here's why. Under the step protocol that they have, there's a warning, and then there's 3 steps. So they have 4 chances to have a match abandoned
per game. 4 chances per game.
4 chances per game, right? So basically, and then CONCACAF, again, Eric and I were in stands for the final. The final, you could hear the chant more than twice, but the protocol only advanced to step 1. And so basically, the long and short of it is CONCACAF is doing just enough to make it seem like they're doing something, but are actually doing nothing. I translate that I compare that to the Mexico friendlies that they have been doing, where the referee has been given the authority to abandon the match after 1 instance, and they had one the other day against Honduras in Atlanta. So sold out 72,000 people. If there was 1 instance of the chant, the match would have been abandoned. There were no chances. There were no instances. So for me, I'm like, why is it a 4-step process? It's not a 4-step process for other things. Let's make it 1. If you do it, the match can be abandoned at that point, and you're taking the risk that your team could forfeit because of something that you do.
Yeah, and we even think about, Donald, you and I said this weekend was 4 years ago. We went down the Azteca for the World Cup qualifier, and we think of the instance where there was multiple instances of the chant, but every single time there was a goal kick from the U.S., there was the announcer over the loudspeaker telling them not to do it. This is not a situation where it is unclear or it has been not communicated well to the team of, oh, should they or should they not do that. It has been clear, it has been clear and made clear by their federation, by CONCACAF. And so there should be no excuse and no gray area. and the amount of times they've been allowed to be given these chances for this.
Yeah, the thing here is CONCACAF can do all they want. Mexico can do all they want. The fans are still the assholes here. Like, they're still doing the chant. They're not taking the step of realizing that it's like, this is pretty dumb that CONCACAF has to stop the game over this. Maybe let's just kind of move on with our day. And it keeps happening. And really, it's the Mexican fans who have taken it upon themselves to stop being wrong about this, to actually move away from this chant so we can all get on with our lives.
And they can do it. I mean, like we said, when they're told, hey, one instance in the match will be abandoned, they don't do it. It's clearly you give them chances. They're doing it. Okay. Oh, you give me 4 chances to do it. We have 4 slaps on the wrist. Okay, we'll take 3 of them. Like, that's basically what they're doing. And CONCACAF also is selective about what they do here, because like I said, for the Costa Rica match, they got to step 1. So it happened twice where they made announcements, but you could hear it on every goal kick. And I know you're going to talk about the final, but one thing that really irked me from the stands was that in the final, the first 20 minutes of the match, for every time we were able to get a goal kick, we would play it differently than we normally did, because it seemed like the players felt like they had to take this necessary step to ensure that the chant didn't have an opportunity to arise. So they would do a short goal kick, or something stupid where they were passing out of the back and making it so that the fans didn't have an opportunity to gather and collect themselves to say it. So that shouldn't be something that happens either. The players shouldn't have to take that responsibility. That should be on everyone. It should be on the fans. The federation, and know, is trying, but they gotta be harder about this. And CONCACAF needs to step in and say, look, we're not giving out chances anymore. The one time and you're gone. That's it. And we haven't seen that, and that's why it keeps going on.
Yeah. So CONCACAF at some point has to step up, and Mexican fans out there, if you're listening, just shut the hell up. So we can move on with our lives. So now that we got that out of the way, let's move on to the main course, the main dish of our dinner here. The inaugural 2019-2020. Is it 2021?
2019-2020.
Or is it 2019-2021?
Let's go with how they're going with the Euros. They're still calling the Euros 2020. So this is the 1920.
Listen, the T-shirt I got that says champions says 2021 on it. So who the hell knows? But anyways.
Time doesn't exist in Concacaf Nations League.
Time is irrelevant. So here we are, the conclusion of the most important sporting event in recorded human history, the Concacaf Nations League. Your final, your United States, your Mexico. Donald, talk about what the atmosphere was like in the stadium.
It was exactly what we wanted. I mean, for it being not, not a full capacity, it was exactly what we wanted. There was energy. It was electric. People were ready. People were animated. There was people who traveled from far and wide for that match. Even people who weren't at the Honduras match were like, hey, we made it and it's Mexico. Yeah, I'm coming. So everything was sold out. Everyone had it was a very electric vibe at pre-games, or walking into the stadium, or actually inside the stadium. And throughout the match, it was like that too. I mean, it was emotional. There was just a lot of things going on. People were reacting with every kick of the ball, every goal, every yellow card, every fight, and that's what CONCACAF wanted. That's what CONCACAF desired. That's what everyone who's in this region desired, to see one of the best rivalries in the world take center stage and deliver on providing an exciting matchup. And that was one of the wildest matches I've ever seen.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me personally, I could sense a palpable anxiety from U.S. fans after that performance on Thursday. You see them barely eking out that win over Honduras. And I mean, it's Mexico. They hadn't beat them in competition since 2013. There was a lot of years and a lot of buildup. I mean, for all the fans that traveled in for that game, Like, these were the first like normal games that U.S. fans have been able to go to since 2019. You know,
I mean,
so
there was
it was almost like a family reunion for us, but knowing what the stakes were, because it is Mexico, you definitely got that vibe in the stadium.
I mean, that vibe was everywhere. So, I mean, I was the one of the three of us that was unable to make it out to Denver for this game. But walking in,
Uncommitted.
uncommitted.
It's the inaugural Concacaf Nations League finals. I'm just
I
saying.
picked the wrong time to change jobs.
Yeah.
But I think just walking into a bar full of U.S. fans. I mean, the anxiety, the nerves, were everywhere, and damn, did it feel good. Like, I mean, I know that we're not trying to make this a U.S. centric podcast, but like, as someone
Naturally
who has, I mean, this game is, but I mean, as someone who has not had that like palpable like stakes, like those stakes have not been in play for the longest time. Man, did it feel good to be that like, I mean, to be that nervous. Maybe just I'm a masochist that like enjoyed that, but like there was an extent of like, that feels good. It feels good.
Yeah, no, it definitely felt like normal for the first time in a long time, and that's definitely welcomed as we get back into some sense of normalcy. So we get to the match, and the match starts off with a bang. U.S. defender Mark McKenzie makes a mistake in the back. Jesus Corona scores for Mexico, putting them up 1-0 just a minute into the match. What was your reaction seeing that happen so early?
Since this is going to be an explicit episode, I'll give you my actual reaction. Fuck.
Listen, they're
that's
all
what
explicit.
I said. Yeah,
they're all
that's
explicit.
What I said. I mean, that's what it was. It, that you want to have a good start, and to not and to have the opposite of that was, at the time, people in the stands was like, what, like, we can't have this. This can't be good. And we saw bits and pieces of that. But I will say after that, just after that, that I liked the fight that we saw. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about that, so I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you put it the same words that I said. I think my exact words may have been "God fucking damn it," but I mean, it's a similar feel going into that.
Yeah, I mean, being that early, you're like, okay, there's a lot of time left. For me, the moment was when Mexico scored their second goal, and you're like, oh shit, this is gonna get bad. And then the VAR gods showed up, and Mexico was ruled offside, and that it was a clear offside, like that was the right call, but that decision flipped the game almost more so than any other.
So in the stadium, when they scored that second goal, you could hear the Mexico fans started chanting Dos a Cero to us, and right as that happened, I think we all looked up and we saw that the referee was going to the monitor. And we're like, oh, wait, this is coming back.
Yeah.
Because, it seemed like we thought it was offside, but this seems like it's coming back. And then literally like that, he took it off the board. And then like 2 minutes later, it all turned around for us.
Yeah. All turned around. Know. Go ahead.
When that goal went in, I was at the O bar, and I stepped outside in frustration. And there's a patio and a screen. And so like in the time of like just me pacing in frustration, and I was like, all right, they're taking this away. And then the US scored that. I was like, all right, let's go. Like there was such a quick turn in momentum and energy. And I can't imagine what that was like in the stadium as well.
Yeah. So in a matter of 2 minutes, the U.S. goes to the other end of the field, gets a corner. Weston McKennie hits the left post with a header, and Giovanni Reyna buries the rebound. And all of a sudden, it's 1-1. And you could feel the entire stadium, just like a wave go over this whole stadium, not like the actual wave, but like an emotional wave go over the whole stadium, be like, oh shit, this is a game now. And things only escalated from there. So is there anything else from the first half that I'm missing? I'm looking at the box score. Was there anything?
No, but before
I would just say,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Donald.
When it comes to corners, this became a theme, but the United States were incredible on their corners. There was I think I counted 5 or 6 corners that they had throughout the game. 2 of them became goals, and the other ones required Memo Ochoa saves. One of them, Weston McKennie shot that was going upper 90. He had to make a ridiculous save on that one. So it was incredible to see how well they played on corners. We should have just played from corner spot all night.
So before we get into the second half, I do want to congratulate Concacaf on the decision they made. Whoever at Concacaf made the decision to put the VAR screen in between the 2 benches, I mean, like applause to them. Every single game, the VAR screen should be between the benches because that was just box office.
Yes, we will. This will come into play very shortly. So we get into the second half. Obviously, tensions are high. The next big thing that happens is substitution, and it's Diego Lainez coming in for Mexico, replacing Uriel Antuna. And Tata Martino, he figured out, wait a minute, Tim Ream's back there. And they made the sub, and my good friend Matt Prussian, who was standing next to me, he looks at me, he's like, this isn't good. And within moments,
let's not forget Zach Steffen comes out.
I completely missed the Zach Steffen thing. Oh yeah, just a starting keeper getting hurt and having to get replaced
for a non-contact injury. Like, I mean, the Lainez injury is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 substitutions later before the Lainez. But yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is,
it was 69th minute. Ethan Horvath replaces Zach Steffen. Yes,
not so nice.
Well, he was like, Zach Steffen was on the field for about 5 minutes. And the one thing I did notice, because I got home from Denver Monday night, like Monday afternoon. Monday night, I sat down and watched the whole damn game. And the thing that I noticed most was like my sense of time between when things happened or how long things took completely warped by being in that stadium. So
the injury to Steffen in the stadium, you said it was only like 5 minutes or so where they were trying to figure out whether he can continue. For us, it felt like 30 minutes. Like the amount of times we saw him try to get up, try to like shake it off and go back down, like every single time, fans in the stand were just kind of like, oh no again, like get him off. And then you could see Ethan Horvath kind of getting his jersey and kind of going over to like start warming up, and we're like, okay, it's clearly like they're trying to get him time to warm up, but every single time it was so agonizing. The 5 minutes felt like an eternity.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like eternity just watching it and like just watching it on TV, because like I remember specifically there's an instance where like McKennie goes over to Steffen and like is having a conversation with him, which what felt like forever. Basically, I felt like he was telling him like, man, I know you are hurt and I know you want to keep playing, but like you're gonna do more damage if you just keep playing. Like there was definitely like I felt like a conversation of like, man, we're with you, but like you don't need to be out there, which it like just shows the accountability of this team of being able to say like, and I don't think Steffen was someone that felt like, oh, someone's attacking him. It was just like, we understand, but like, we all got to think about what's in it, what's the best for the team at this minute.
Yeah. So this will kind of be a theme. There's so much that happens, you forget things happened. So yes, Steffen gets replaced by Ethan Horvath, and this is 9 minutes prior to that Lainez sub that I referenced. So even only being in for about 10 minutes, Horvath surrenders a goal. U.S. goes down 2-1. And just like in the first half, it goes the other way real quick. U.S. goes down the field after the goal, wins a corner, and there's Weston McKennie again. with a header beating Memo Ochoa to tie the game 2-2. And tie game, huge momentum swing, huge emotional swing. And this is where things really started to pop off. So you've got about 8 minutes of regular time left. If I remember correctly, it was 7 minutes of stoppage time that they added on the first 90.
Yeah,
it was 7 minutes.
like
so it was
that.
7 minutes of stoppage time.
How much do you think they played?
Like 2, because I didn't realize going back and looking at this. So in the 90th or the actually about the 89th, 90th minute, a ball gets played in behind to the U.S. In the U.S. back line. Horvath comes out and collects, and Hector Herrera slides in, and just one of the most blatant studs up challenges into Horvath while he is laying on the ground. That happened in like the 88th, 89th minute.
It was
like it wasn't until
minute.
like
I'm looking at the box score right now. 92nd minute.
I know, but it was like I felt like it was about 3 or 4 minutes before the yellow card is actually issued.
That's correct,
of
because
the
we didn't
melee
know
that takes place. Because the fact that Hector Herrera not only cleated Ethan Horvath, he also grabbed Weston McKennie by the throat. And not like, oh, maybe he just like touched his throat. Like the Undertaker was out there and getting ready to give him a choke slam. And the fact that like 2 instances in the span of like 2 minutes were clear red card offenses, and he just skates away with a yellow.
Right. And at the same time, you know, the reason why I know it was right as stoppage time occurred is because we didn't get the number of how much stoppage time there was until after that yellow card was shown in the 92nd minute. So we're like, okay, so it's 7 minutes of stoppage time, which seems very low considering how long Zach Steffen was on the ground and all the fights that have occurred during the game and all the stoppages that have occurred during the game. But how much do we actually have? And then, Eric, as you know, we had the 3-minute stoppage for step one discriminatory protocol. So because of the chant, and that took at least 3 or 4 minutes off of the clock as well.
Yeah, 90 plus 10 was the amount of time they got played that first 90.
I was just about to say, I had the box score pulled up. We got to the second half ends at 90 plus 10, which will not be the last time we see a number that big as we get through this game. So Hector Herrera commits 2 red card offenses in the span of stoppage time and stays in the game. And it's important that he stays in the game because this ain't gonna be the last time that he comes into play here. So we get into extra time, being the Concacaf Nations League final and needing a true champion. We're doing the full extra time, 15 minutes, and then going to PKs if still tied. And we get through the first part of stoppage time. Do either of you recall when the guy ran on the field? Was that the first half of stoppage time or the second?
No, that's the second half of stoppage time. What happens in between? Yeah. What happens? So let's step back for a second because you guys are in the stadium. What does happen in between the end of regular time and the beginning of stoppage time is we go to the on-field studio where Clint Dempsey is just absolutely slaying it out there in his camo tuxedo jacket. But in the midst of this, a guy runs onto the set and is then chased off by security, and the guy jumps over a railing to heights unknown. Like we have no clue. And I just want to, like, at one point, so after this melee happens, Kate Abdo looks over at Dempsey and Gooch and Davies and asks why no one ran to her rescue. And Deuce's words were, well, I saw you over there in that Sons of Anarchy leather jacket and figured you could handle yourself.
Yeah, I had no.
Well, I'll tell you,
we had no idea that happened inside the stadium.
We had no idea that happened, but we can tell you. So our vantage point, we could see the back of the set. My man had to drop at least 10 feet down, and it's not like he jumped down, ladies and gentlemen. He fell down. Like he jumped over the railing and went dropped. Yeah, he dropped. And you could see, I mean, the only thing when I watched the video, you could see Deuce kind of look down to watch him fall, and he doesn't seem overly concerned about dude. So he's probably alive.
Deuce.
Like, yeah, it's Deuce just kind of like, oh man, that boy fell. Like, dang. Anyway, we're going back to the game. Like, that's how he was. So that big ups to Deuce. He's the GOAT.
So we get through the first half of stoppage time, through the 105th minute. Of course, they had added 3 minutes of stoppage time for the first 15 minutes.
It was
of
4
stoppage of extra time. They ended up being 4 minutes, but they only put 3 up on the board. I remember this because I was trying to do math in my head. I did read after the fact that through all the stoppages, like the clock was running for like 148 minutes, which is absolutely absurd. Like 120 was supposed to be like, that's a lot. 148, just insane. So we get into the second half of extra time, still tied 2-2. And shortly after the beginning is where things pop off. U.S. forward Christian Pulisic pulled down in the box. No call immediately. The play continues. Ball is played out of bounds. But then it's VAR time. Everyone's making the box signal in the stands. The referee's heading to that spot between the benches. As we referenced earlier, brilliantly placed between the benches, because the ref gets over there and clearly concerned that his team may have surrendered a penalty in stoppage time. Tata Martino decides to go over and have a buddy chat with the referee and puts his arm around him. He's like, yeah, no, you're not going to call a penalty here, right? Ref is like, yo, who do you think you are? And just hands him a red. Right there. So Tata Martino.
While Greg Berhalter is also hugging Tata, saying like, yo, man, maybe you should give back. You're about to get a red card. Oh, never mind. You just did. Well, it was good to see you.
Yeah. You don't want to do this. So they award the penalty. Pulisic takes it, buries it. U.S. goes up 3-2. Pulisic runs to the corner to celebrate with his teammates, and they are greeted with projectiles from fans wearing green and black and pink in the stadium, including a cup that finds the head of U.S. player Giovanni Reyna. He gets sent to the ground, and this is where, I mean, things got off the rails prior to this, but this is where like the train somersaulted off the rails and burst into flames.
Well, and like not only that, so before Pulisic takes the penalty, so you talk about Tata Martino, he goes over, gives the ref a cuddle. He gets a red card, but doesn't leave the field. So like Pulisic's getting ready to take the penalty, and Tata has not left the field. So the referee then walks away to walk back over to the bench to make sure he leaves the field. Like, I mean, that whole instance, I mean, like, it's a script that just cannot be written. I mean, it was just, I mean, so I was having a conversation, like, you know, on Twitter with fans and things like that. But like the amount of non-soccer fans that got into this game was just, there's a guy in Nashville that he was talking. He's like, this game reminds me of like Monday night NWO, WCW, like the height of Monday Night Nitro was what this game was.
Now, some of those words may not make sense to some of you around the world, but let me tell you that things got a little crazy. We'll say that. So this foul took place in the 108th minute. About the 114th is when Christian Pulisic is lining this up. And in that time span, you saw all the Mexican players going over to the penalty spot and just doing their best job to kind of tear up that area. You can see on the video that the spot where Pulisic would be planting his foot was pretty much bare. There was no grass there. They were doing their best to make it tough for him to finish that. And he scores, rips it top corner. I don't know if anyone's stopping that. Just as he said after the game, top bins, and place just goes wild. They go to the corner and things start hitting the field, not just in that corner, but around the field. So U.S. is up 3-2. Play continues. Again, this is with about 5 minutes left in regular time of extra time. And in the 119th minute, U.S. defender Mark McKenzie off a corner. It was a corner, right? Or it was just a ball across the box?
I think it was a free kick or something.
It was a free kick. Okay. Anyways, ball coming in, played towards the goal, hits Mark McKenzie in the hand, and hits off John Brooks and goes, and Ethan Horvath picks it up, if I'm correct. And Mexico's shouting for a penalty. They ended up going to review it. I don't know about you, Donald, but for me, I was looking at replays like John Brooks didn't touch that. That's not a handball. Not even considering the fact that it hit McKenzie before that. They go to VAR. Tata's not there to sweet talk the ref. And the referee decides to award another VAR penalty to Mexico.
Eric, I should break at this point to give you guys the lowdown on what I told everyone in the stands. As they signaled for VAR at this point, and the ref is running over to the monitor, one of our friends was like, "Hey, D, what do you think about this?" And I go, "It doesn't matter what he thinks. Ethan Horvath is stopping this shot." So I literally said, "Hey, Ethan Horvath is stopping this. No worries here, and he can go ahead and he can either take the penalty away, and that's fine. But if he awards it, Ethan Horvath is stopping it."
Yeah,
that's what I said in the stands.
I said something similar to Eric to Steve Kraft. He said, "Do you think they give this?" I said, "I mean, I think they give it, and I think they save it. I think Horvath saves it. I don't think it's a penalty. I actually probably the Pulisic one is, could or could not be a penalty too."
As an American, it's my duty to tell you that Pulisic foul was a penalty. That was
I said something. I was like, they're going to give it, and it's going to get saved.
Yeah. See, a penalty in that spot where they're down 1, and we've lived the last 4-5 years of supporting American soccer. I felt like that was inevitable. Being a true Buffalo sports fan, I expect the worst in every situation. But I must tell you that the vibes were very strong in that stadium at that time. And
I will say, for me, it didn't feel like, oh no, here we go. It felt like Buffalo Wild Wings hit the button. That's what it felt like to me. Because it was, I mean, like you said, Eric, is right at the end of extra time, regular time. We were about to go into stoppage time, and we were like there can't be any time, because we saw the time of the clock stop at 1:20. We're like, there's like, this game's got to be over. Like, this is someone calling it in, saying like, hey, we need to go to penalties.
Yeah, they want to go to penalties, so here's a penalty. Andres Guardado of Mexico steps up. Ethan Horvath denies it. Place goes bonkers, and things continue to pop off from there. Play continues. There was another instance. Was the guy running on the field prior to this or after?
It was
this?
post this. He comes on. He runs on after the penalty is missed, and is very much like, I feel like even like everyone just kept playing. Like, it was like, oh, this is but a footnote in this wild game.
I want to say, okay, so this would have happened between the 120 plus 6, and then it was the 120 plus 9 when Christian Pulisic was taken down along the sideline, when there was another scuffle, and projectiles continued to rain down, this time striking Mexican players as well. Projectiles happened to be coming from all over the field. I did get hit. I was sitting second row behind the goal. I got struck in the back of the head with a cup. I hope it was beer, but fortunately it had been launched far enough that most of the contents, I'll say, most of that had left. So it was just a cup hitting me in the back of the head.
I definitely got hit by beer, water, soda. Like, my jersey was messed up, and whoever did it, you got a cleaning bill coming.
Yeah.
I would have made a joke about catching a stray, but considering how my night ended, I'll refrain from that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So another scuffle along the sidelines. Andres Guardado shown a yellow card. And we end up getting to the 120 plus 11th minute for we finally get the whistle, and the U.S. claims the inaugural Concacaf Nations League final. I'll just ask a simple question. Did it live up to the hype?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then some.
Like, come on, man.
Like if you would have like describe a wild game, you'd catch half of this. Like
Yeah.
and someone would say that it's unbelievable.
Yeah, going full CONCACAF doesn't even have all these options. You know, the VAR penalty, there's only one box. There's no two boxes for that.
And in the VAR penalty instance, it's not between the two benches.
Oh yeah, the VAR box between the guy running onto the field.
I mean,
players...
Herrera got another. There was another instance. Herrera should have been sent off. It's at some point in extra time, he makes a awful challenge that they award a foul, but it was a clear yellow card.
Yeah. There was the ref in this game also did not have control of it. I mean, well, I won't say that he had more control than U.S. Honduras referee did, but this one just kind of you could feel that there was a lot of pressure on him. This is USA Mexico, and he didn't want to make a mistake, so he decided not to make anything. Like that's basically what happened. Even with the VAR stuff, it was like you could see like on the first one, he kind of went to the monitor and was like, tell me what to say. Like, tell me how I play this. And that's kind of why and the second one took so long, because again, he was like, he knew it was a big call and he wanted to make sure he got it right. I think he got it wrong, but that sort of thing, you could tell that man lived up, was like, hey, I can't make a mistake here, because if I do, there are tens of millions of fans that are going to be very, very upset with me.
The level of showmanship as well from the referee, and for fans that may watch the Premier League or familiar with the likes of Mike Dean, who loves more than anything to make a spectacle of the event and of himself. And when the decision to give the Pulisic penalty, the emphatic nature of the point to the spot, I mean, is something that I feel like those showman referees would all be jealous. I'm sure there's a referees WhatsApp group going around, and all of them were like, "Did you just see that?"
He had great form.
Yeah, be like, "Yo, that guy is having a great night."
Yeah,
the referees union is very happy with that. So, after years of anticipation and a lifetime of waiting, we got the Concacaf Nations League final that we deserved. And you're so happy that it lived up to all the expectations, but you're also sad it's over. But the U.S. claims the first title. We move on. They will look to defend their title in the 2022-2023 Concacaf Nations League, which will begin next May. May 2022 is the first set of match days. Of course, these four semifinalist teams will stay in League A, where they're joined by El Salvador, Grenada, Jamaica, and Suriname. League B, League C, lots of good competition. I'm sure we will be doing a series of episodes previewing the Concacaf Nations League next year as we get closer. But any final thoughts about what we saw in Denver?
I love this region and I love this tournament.
See, I told y'all are out here clowning us, and now when that episode comes next May or next April, whenever we do it, about the next Champions League or Nations League, y'all gonna be on it. That's gonna be our most listened to episode, because everyone's gonna be like, yo, I need to be a part of this. And also shout out to Eric and I think maybe like 8 other people for being the only people other than the teams to participate in all 6, be fans at all 6 Nations League games featuring the United States.
Hold up. I must confess, I was only at 4 of the 6. I didn't go to the home games. Yeah.
Oh, that's
right.
I
did the 2 road. I did the 2 road games.
So I take you off that list. There was like 9 of us.
Yeah, I don't deserve respect. But you know who does deserve respect?
The Concacaf Nations League.
Concacaf Nations League.
Mm-hmm.
So this brief bonus episode that we wanted to do for you turned out to be a nice long episode, just focusing on lists. Obviously, in our typical format. We don't have the time that this final deserved. So we wanted to keep this separate from that. We are going to bring you a new episode. We promise at some point in the very near future. Funny thing happens when a pandemic is over is that you have like life getting in the way and you can't do your podcast about the North, Central, and Caribbean Federation Soccer League. Yeah. So we will take time coming up to review World Cup qualifying. The first round is concluded. The second round will have concluded by the time we get together again. But thanks for joining us. Again, for Eric Schmitz, for Donald Wine, for Jonathan Slape. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting Concacaf, and we will see you soon.